Headlines most affecting Chilliwack this week. The BC Conservatives are picking their candidates for the October election. Chilliwack Mountain literally overrun by firefighters, but for a good cause. The clocks go forward this weekend. It's daylight saving time. And Hockey Day in Chilliwack. We will have that and more in sports. Our guest this week includes BC Conservative candidate líya Warbus. As well, we'll take a peek on what was happening on Chilliwack Mountain with the firefighters. All right, Chilliwack, let's get started. The Conservative Party of British Columbia announcing their local candidates, first for Chilliwack-Cultus Lake, Stalo Director of Cultural Communications, as well as a professor of Indigenous Digital Film at Capilano University, líya Warbus, will be in the running for MLA in October. Her dad, you might know him, former Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Stephen Point, and her mom, Dr. Gwen Point, the second ever Chancellor for the University of the Fraser Valley. We will have that interview with Ms. Warbus in just a few minutes' time. Now, the Conservative Party also announcing that Chilliwack School Trustee Heather Maws will run in Chilliwack North. Now, she'll be up against the current NDP MLA Dan Coulter. Ironically, Coulter was a Chilliwack School Board chair, and Maws worked with Coulter on the school board. Maws first became a school trustee back in 2008. GM First Nation announcing the acquisition of Bridal Veil Golf Course, quote, marking a significant milestone in the expansion of the land base. Now, from their media release, the strategic move reflecting a commitment to fostering economic growth, preserving and promoting Indigenous cultural heritage, and in conversation with chillTV, their media people are stressing this is not connected with the gondola proposal, which itself is slowly moving through the permit process with various government agencies. Last Friday, a Via rail train struck debris on the track near Agassiz, the impact causing damage to the engine and some of the train cars. None of the 121 passengers or crew on board were hurt, but the damage did cause a fuel leak and the train was not able to proceed. So the RCMP and CP police are investigating this incident, and since the leak happened on CP tracks, the CP environmental teams have been brought in to assess. Chilliwack Fire Department, in partnership with the City of Chilliwack and the International Association of Firefighters, hosting 128 firefighters from Chilliwack, Mission, Chilliwack River Valley, Agassiz, Popcom, and Abbotsford for a comprehensive wildland urban firefighting course called Responding to the Interface. So chillTV was able to tag along, as you can see, with crews. That included a firefighter from Scottsdale, Arizona, who specializes in this type of training, and they all wanted to thank the neighborhood simply because they were running around in everybody's backyard with fire hoses. Cultus Lake Provincial Park was busy earlier this week. BC Parks authorizing watercraft training for the Department of National Defense. This was at Maple Bay and Jade Bay. DND conducts these types of exercises on a regular basis, and a big thanks to the Army crews for letting chillTV on site. Now, finally, the days are getting longer. Daylight saving time kicks in, well, Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on when you reset the clock on the microwave or the coffee machine. Your electronic devices will reset themselves, but yeah, don't get us started on trying to change the clock in the car. Coming up, our interview with BC Conservative candidate líya Warbus, and we'll have a little bit of sports. In fact, a lot of sports, including basketball and hockey. That's on the way. This week continues in our series of the candidates, and as we slowly approach the October provincial election, líya Warbus is running for the BC Conservatives in the new old riding of Chilliwack-Cultus Lake. First off, the 60-second resume. Who are you? Because some people don't know, you have a rather famous pedigree.
Okay. I feel like part of that is very localized, in my point of view anyways, just for my community, because I've grown up and lived in the Chilliwack area, what we call Stalo territory, my whole life. And we have a big family. We have a big family that's done a lot of different things in the community. So for myself, I've really tried to carve my own path. And that included moving away to Vancouver and diving into the arts as, an actress and an activist and somebody who worked on the front lines for youth rights, and, also doing singing, dancing, and theater work. And then I found my passion for film and wanted to become a filmmaker. And so I've also had my hand at that in recent years, working as a documentary filmmaker in and around the film industry. And now I'm back home and I'm taking on the cultural communications work for local government. And I'm really trying to make our community a better place to live and just better quality of life for my people.
And for those who don't know, her dad used to be Lieutenant Governor of the province of British Columbia. Let's get into the politics now. As an activist, what was the thing that said, okay, I'm going to get involved, and I'm going to get involved in the provincial level? Was there one or two or maybe 5 or 6 events that you saw and went, okay, I've got to be involved in this?
That's such a good question. And I've really been trying to unpack that for myself recently, because it feels like when something's meant to happen, everything aligns. And I really believe in following that alignment. And when doors start to open for you, you walk through. So for myself, I've always had an interest, like I said, more as an activist and on the front lines of creating change for my people. Moving back home, what I noticed within our governance structures is that there's a lot of work happening in silos and very little collaboration. Hence, my lack of desire to actually run locally for chief and council. I'm not criticizing the good work that's going on. I think people have been, fighting tooth and nail for the social determinants health of our people. But for me, I want to be a voice that's going to come in and look at more of the overarching picture and the forward vision of our people. And I didn't see a laneway for me to do that within our communities. So my mind started spinning. I started looking at some of the provincial politics and some of the things that I was hearing on the radio and on the TV. First thing, wake up in the morning, I watch the news, I check to see, what's happening. And I noticed that there wasn't enough Indigenous voices and perspective within the provincial government. And so a lot of the issues that they're running up against is because none of them are community members. None of them have lived these statistics. Not a lot of people that are in government right now can say, yeah, I've lost 4 or 5 family members to drug addiction and alcoholism. I can. I can say that. Yeah. And so living in the statistics and living in the margins, it's time that we step up and we represent that voice and that viewpoint at those higher levels and start to offer some of our perspective and our lived experience and our perspective into those circles that, maybe not for any purpose have excluded us. And regardless of that history and that difficult history we've had with Canada, it's time to start to build bridges now, bridges of understanding and communication. And so, like I said, doors started to open in a pathway for me to do that. All I was really doing was thinking about it. And all of a sudden it landed on my lap and I'm thinking, okay, this is some sort of call and response. I believe in the Creator. I believe in a higher power. That's where I feel like people think we don't line up. But in actuality, we do. We have the same values. We put our families and our children first. We want a good, safe place to live. That's exactly what we want. Whether you believe in God or the Creator or any kind of higher power that's out there, we all want a good life for our children, and I don't see that happening right now.
Why the Conservatives? They are coming up in the polls. There's a call. I was just at a BC United town hall the other day, and they were concerned that the Conservatives are going to split the vote and the NDP will come up and be reelected. Why the Conservatives?
That's such a good question. And it's a question that has come up in all aspects of this announcement many, many times. And I know that basically at face value, I'm a surprising choice and for the Conservatives, and it's surprising for me to choose the Conservatives. So to answer that question, I think I need to kind of dive into how this all came about.
Yes.
So we had some really great people come into our community and begin to pick up on work that was very difficult for us to get traction on. And when these people came into our community that had experience working in provincial government and with other First Nations around the province, bringing their expertise to us and saying, look, we want to help your governments and your services get organized, and we want to help you create economic prosperity for your communities. It was like, yes, we finally have allies that are for us and for what we want to do within our communities. Well, it turns out one of those allies is Mike, and pulled me into the board of directors for Tommy and quickly realized that I had an aptitude for this kind of work, and because of health reasons had to pull out of the race for himself, and pitched to me that it might be a good idea that I get involved in provincial politics. And it didn't take long for me to come around to a meeting with John Restad, where I felt like, okay, this is a vetting. Yeah. I know exactly why we're going into this meeting. He wants to vet me, but I also want to vet him. And when we went down his platform, I was really happily surprised to hear that actually we do align. Like, that's that alignment that I was talking about. We do align in a lot of our values. We want a lot of the same things, but we're getting hung up on the language that's used, the way that politics works right now, where you have to make these grand statements. And in reality, we're able to work with some of the issues that we don't quite agree on and say, yeah, we have a different point of view and you land here and I land here, but that's okay. On really big issues like harm reduction, homelessness, economic prosperity, interim measures to bringing our balance back to budget, things that I think he actually has answers for, I'm able to get on board with that. And I was able to ask him poignant questions about platform presentations that I felt were very divisive. And when he was able to give me a very clear and common sense answer for the reasons why he's presenting his information this way and the research that is attached to it, I was able to say, okay, that's acceptable to me. We don't have to land exactly in the same place on every single issue. That's never going to happen. That doesn't happen with me and my own family members, me and my own community members. To be frank, you're always going to have dissonance. But as long as him and I and the rest of the Conservative Party can align on some of the big things that we want to accomplish, everything else, the wrinkles can get ironed out over time.
You're always welcome here, and this won't be the last time we have a conversation. Thank you for coming. Líya Warbus, who is the BC Conservative candidate for Chilliwack-Cultus Lake. You're watching This Week. chillTV Sports, now that was a great 7-game series. Last week, the Chilliwack Jets won their series with the Langley Trappers 4-3 with a big 3-2 win in front of a packed house at the Sardis Sports Complex. So next up, the Harold Britton Conference Final against the red-hot Maple Ridge Flames. Now that series has started this week. The other conference final this week is Richmond and Delta. Chilliwack Minor Hockey Association gearing up for what they're calling an exhilarating event to engage players, families, and the hockey community. It's Hockey Day in Chilliwack, Saturday, March 16th, filled with excitement, tons of competition and community spirit. All the games will be at the Sardis Sports Complex. You can follow on the social media of Chilliwack Minor Hockey. The draw is out. The UFE Cascades women's basketball team will take on Carleton in the first game of the U Sports Final 8. The tournament started this past Thursday in Edmonton. And Kincora Golf Course, a public par 3 course in Chilliwack on Higginson, and it was literally chewed up during the construction of the TMX pipeline expansion project, but it's now open. Kincora, by the way, has been serving Chilliwack for over 20 years. Coming up, a good hard look with daylight saving time with Cari and the weather. chillTV weekend weather. So, Cari, the time change to daylight saving is coming up. So, is it going to be just a little bit damp?
Thanks, Don. Chilliwack weather this week. Temperatures are going to get up to around 9, but get down to about 3, so it's going to be still quite chilly. And, you guessed it, it's going to rain, with Sunday being the worst. Tomorrow is actually International Women's Day, and the United Nations has chosen this year's theme to be Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, which is aimed at tackling economic disempowerment. Lots of big words, so here's hoping that everybody just celebrates all the amazing things that women are doing in Chilliwack. Back to you, Don.
Thanks, Cari, and thank you for watching. If you have a local news story you'd like us to report on, you can always send us a note to news@chilltv.ca. Thanks for watching. I'm Don Lehn.